Hey guys, it's your boy 14 Fluffies here. Today I'm back with the deck profiles. It's been pretty hectic. It's been absolutely unbearably hot. Today's forecast, I think it said it was supposed to be 107 degrees, which is just retarded. So, yeah, just been dealing with all life and stuff. It's just been hard to make Yu-Gi-Oh content recently. I've been forced to kind of record commentaries and then just record commentary over them whenever I'm able to get the chance to. It's been pretty hard, but I'm trying to make time to do it now, so I found that I have time today, so I'm going to be doing some deck profiles, trying to squeeze as many in as possible. But today, in this video, we have the new Destiny Heroes. I mean, I've been trying them out. I really like the way it plays. I mean, it is, the Destiny Hero support in general just isn't that great, but Drill Guide is kind of good for, just because it historically solved a problem with just drawing Malicious, just being able to get it out of your hand and stuff. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. Starting off, of course, we have our 3 copies of Malicious. This is pretty much just the MVP of the entire deck, just being able to get you to things like Zulkin, or get you to your like Beatrice and stuff. And it's critical. It also helps you get to your level 8 synchros. If you for like classic plays with like Plague Spreader and Malicious, stuff like that. So yeah, really just the heart and soul of the deck, and it's recyclable now thanks to the 2 pot of Avidity, but we'll get into that later. Next up, 3 copies of Shadow Mist to get your change quick plays, and of course to search off your D heroes, of course being Malicious and Drill Guy. This Shadow Mist isn't quite as good in this build as pure Masked Heroes, just because of the fact that you can get searches off of it every turn, and you have, in my particular build, you have a wider variety of search targets to get, and you have more utility from it. But in this version, you have just as much ability to use it, although it has a much more limited purpose. And next up, for the last monster running 3 up, we're running 3 copies of Red Resonator. This is to help just turbo stuff out of your hand. It can special summon Shadow Mist. You can special summon your Drill Guy, which will then special summon Malicious. You can special Armageddon Knight, which will dump Malicious. It just does a lot of stuff. It helps you get to your level 6 synchro plays. Like Red Resonator into Armageddon Knight to dump Malicious, to go for Coral Dragon, and then Malicious to get another Malicious, and then go for Exulkin, and then Coral Dragon you can draw, stuff like that. It's a very key combo part, and you want to see it as much as possible. And for the 2 ofs, we got the 2 Destiny Hero Drill Guy. Nothing really to be explained there. The text isn't on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro yet, but the thing is, though, it's not as good as I would have hoped to. I mean, realistically, I would have hoped that it would have been able to summon any hero from hand, but the fact that you can summon Malicious is very important as well. But you can't really win everything, so I will take that. I'm happy enough with the way this card is. I mean, just because it can be activated when it's normal or special summon, so that way if you special summon off of Red Resonator, you can still get its effect. And not to mention, even if you don't have Malicious, it can still special summon itself from hand. And back when I originally built the deck, I was playing 1 copy of Diamond Dude. You can also summon Diamond Dude off of this effect as well. But I don't play Diamond Dude because he's too slow this format. And we have the 2 Armageddon Knight. This card is incredibly useful just for dumping your Malicious or your Shadow Mist to search Malicious, dumping your Plague Spreader, stuff like that. It has a lot of utility in the deck. I want to try to 3, but I think 2 is pretty good. So yeah, for the 1-ups, we got the 1 Dark Arm Dragon. This is kind of like a secondary win condition. If you open this plus your regular plays, you can push for OTKs for the most part, just as long as you can, of course, get the right amount of Darks in the graveyard. And since you banish from grave a lot for Malicious and Plague Spreader, you're going to be able to control how many Darks you have in grave pretty consistently. So as long as you draw it, you can pretty much almost always make it live. So yeah, and for the last monster, we are running the 1 Plague Spreader. It helps you make things like Void Ogre and stuff like that, but it's really just an extra tuner. I mean, most of the time I make Void Ogre off of like Zulkin and stuff, but this is like a secondary option just in case. For the spell, start off 3 Hero Lives, get Shadow Mist, pretty much. It just makes it so that you can have a combo piece without actually having to have the monster in hand or even have to use a normal summon on it. So yeah, it's just really good for making your regular plays just amazing. Next up, we got the 3 copies of D-Draw. This is more of a turbo-oriented build, so we're just maxing out on draw power as much as we can. This card is actually surprisingly very rarely dead, even though we're only playing 5 D heroes. But normally you just want to pitch the Malicious anyway. Drill Guy is a decent thing to discard, but it's not quite as good as Malicious, obviously, but that's not important. We got the 3 Mash Change, really good, considering how you can Mash Change your D-Heroes and your Drill Guys, your D-Heroes and your Shadow Mists for Dark Claw. So yeah, and especially considering how you can, if you do special summon your Malicious, you can summon it, Mash Change it for Dark Claw, and then be able to get another Malicious from deck. So really, it just synergizes so perfectly. Malicious is just so good. But yeah, next up, 3 Twin Twisters. Nothing really needs to be said there. You can pitch Shadow Mist, Plague Spreader, Malicious, all that stuff. It's really good for clearing back row. And since this deck doesn't play traps itself, you need to be very oriented on pushing for game and putting damage on board quickly. So that's why you don't want to run into back row. And the 2 Allure of Darkness. It's really good in this deck. I mean, for the most part, you really just want to pitch dead cards from hand, like Dead Armageddon Knights, Drill Guys, Shadow Mist, stuff like that. So yeah, I don't want to pitch Malicious, but if I have to, I will. But the thing is, though, the lures help make Avidity live, which is why I'm actually playing it on top of for the extra draw power. So yeah, this card has a lot of synergy with the deck as well, now that Avidity is a thing. So yeah, next up, 2 Instant Fusion. I don't really want to play 3 because I'd see it too often, and I'm not playing Summoner Monk because Summoner Monk would just be too slow in this deck. So yeah, I mean, for the most part, 1 Norden is fine just because it helps. At worst, it helps me get to another level 6 Synchro play, and even then, you can go for your rank 4 Exceed places with it as well. So even then, it's almost never dead, so you can always make a play with it if you have it. And next up, we got the 2 Pot of Avidity. This card is really good. If you can make it live, it just helps you extend plays, and it's just really good because if you're using it correctly, you're always gonna have 2 banished Malleys, or like something you banished off Allure of Darkness or something, or like a Plague Spreader that you already used. So yeah, you can put those 3 back in the deck, draw, and then you can start using Malley again. So it's really good for that thing. For that aspect. I did try out 1. I never saw it enough. 3 would probably be too bricky. 2 seems perfectly good to me, so that's why I'm sticking with 2. And 2 Resonator Call to help search out your red Resonator. Even though you are maxing out on it, you really want to see it as much as possible, just because it starts your combos. It's a combo starter. So yeah, that's why we played it 2. I think that 3 and 3 would be a little too bricky. You'd see it way too much, but 2 is just perfect. And for the 1-up spells, we got the 1 Foolish Burial for dumping your Malicious, just because it helps you get to your combos faster. So yeah, and it just helps you, like, even at worst, it could just make Dark Arm live by pitching any dead Darks into the graveyard. So yeah, we got the 1 Soul Charge for making Godlike Fields, pretty much. 1 Raigeki for clearing boards. Raigeki plus Dark Law is amazing, even to this day. So yeah, we got the 1 Rhoda for searching out, these things. So, and for the last spell, we have the 1 Upstart Goblin. So, that is the main deck. I feel like it's really good. I'm very satisfied with it, just because it's so fast and so consistent. But let's go on to the extra deck. Let's start off with the rank 4 Exceeds. We have the 1 Abyss Dweller, because we're still playing Norden. 1 Diamond Direwolf for extra back row removal, or just other spot removal. 1 Castell for spinning things. We got the 1 Beatrice, just because, going in, because you can make it very easily. I don't really go into it all that often, just because I don't really feel like I need to get the Plague Spreader into the graveyard that often, when I could just make Zulkin for the most part. So yeah, it's always an option to go for, though, but you just have to keep in mind it may not always be the best thing to go for, but it's still really good. For the Synchros, we got the 1 Stardust Charge Warrior. It helps you draw, it's an instant +1. I would say +1, but it pays for itself on summon. So it's very good in that respect, just being able to get a free draw immediately. We got the 2 Coral Dragon. This card is the most important synchro in the entire extra deck. It helps you make your Zulkin. It just lets you pitch cards from hand. Like if you have if you drew another Malley, you can pitch it from hand to get it out, just because it would be dead otherwise. It helps you just get things out of your hand. It helps you trigger things, and it makes things like Dark Arm live as well because of the discard effect. So it's really good in that respect. It's really a key combo part of the deck, which is why I play 2 copies. Next up, we got the 1 Red Dragon Archfiend Scarlight. I don't make it all that often, but when I do, it's normally a game winner. Got 2 copies of Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon because Zulkin just makes this thing easily, and for the most part, I can make it normally anyway with Charge Warrior plus any level 2 tuner. So yeah. But normally I typically make these off Zulkin. Same thing with the Void Ogre Dragon, even though I can feasibly make it with Plague Spreader, Plague Spreader, my bad, plus Malicious, I typically just make it with Zulkin, and of course we are playing the one Zulkin. For the fusions, we got the one Norden, nothing really to say there, and we got the 2 copies of Darklaw, nothing really to explain there, because this is Heroes, you play Darklaw, just because it's the best card in Heroes. But obviously, because this is D Heroes, we have, all these options. So yeah, for the side deck, starting off, we got the 3 copies of Radiant, the Interdimensional Kaiju. This card just has the best synergy of the deck, obviously it being dark, it makes Allure alive. It can help set up great for Dark Arm. It's a free special summon. That's a 2800 beater. It helps you get over things like the Cosmo ships. And because you're dropping huge things like Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon on a fairly regular basis, a 28 beater, giving your opponent a 28 beater is almost irrelevant. So you're always going to be able to beat over this if you give your opponent a copy of it. Next up, 3 copies of Maxi. Normally I wouldn't play this in Masked Heroes, but because this is a much more combo-oriented deck where you don't really care about drawing into monsters, unlike in Heroes where you have to make your hand live for Bubble Man, Maxi is just much better in this deck, just because, you can draw into your combo pieces, like the Red Resonator, plus the Drill Guy, plus the Malicious, or the Red Resonator, plus the Armageddon Knight, stuff like that. Or like the Hero Lives, Red Resonator, Armageddon Knight, so just stuff like that. Or like drawing into D-Draw Malicious, or like, Red Resonator, Armageddon Knight, D-Draw, stuff like that. It's just really good. It helps you draw into your combo piece, and helps you go for game a lot of the time. 2 System Down for Cosmo for whenever you don't draw the Kaijus. It's really good. This deck doesn't really care about paying life points quite as much, just because even though you are playing the Hero Lives and 2 Instant Fusion, you don't really pay life points nearly as much in this deck. So yeah, next up, 3 Mask Restrict. This deck obviously doesn't tribute at all, except for when you're siding in the Radiants, but I wouldn't side the Radiants in against Monarchs anyway, just because of the fact that this thing is the same body as Monarchs, and Crystal Wing kind of just completely just defeats Monarchs just by itself. And since Zulkin is pretty much something that Monarchs plays, well, you don't have to worry about Domain, so you really don't have to worry about not being able to go into your extra deck. So yeah. Really the only thing you really need to stop is the tribute summons like the Erebus and the Aethers and stuff like that. Outside of that, you can pretty much easily handle things like all their like XC plays and their Zulkin plays and stuff like that with just your regular main deck. Like if you can start with the field of Darklaw, Zulkin, Crystal Wing, and just like that, and that's a pretty easy board to establish, you'll win most of the time. So yeah. For the last cards on the side deck, we have the Solemn Brigade, the 3 damn it, stop doing that. 3 Solemn Strikes and the Solemn Warning. And this obviously goes in against a lot of rogue matchups, like not including things like Monarchs. Monarchs are the one meta matchup I'd probably side these in immediately. Cosmo, I'd only say like the Solemn Strikes are really great, and Solemn Warning is kind of good only for the normal summons for the most part. But these would go in for a lot of matchups, especially rogue matchups. So yeah, that is the deck. Tell me what you guys think. I really am loving the way this deck plays. I mean, it just makes me love Heroes even more, just because of the fact that I can actually experiment with more of what Heroes have to offer. It's just, I really wish that the D-Hero support was better, though. I mean, Drill Guy is really the only decent card out of the bunch, which makes me sad. But yeah, that's not important. Tell me what you guys think. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.